The tennis world has long wondered about the connection. Why does Roger Federer, the 20-time Grand Slam champion, the most elegant player to ever grace a court, follow Alex Eala's career so closely? Why did he attend her junior matches? Why did he speak about her with such warmth and admiration? The rumors have swirled for years. Some said he saw a kindred spirit, others claimed it was simply Swiss politeness. But now, Aryna Sabalenka, the world number one, a 4-time Grand Slam champion and a close observer of both players, has finally revealed the truth, and her answer has left the tennis world absolutely speechless. What did Sabalenka say about the bond between the Filipino sensation and the Swiss maestro, and why is their connection deeper than anyone ever imagined? March 2026, the Rafa Nadal Academy, Mallorca, Spain. Roger Federer stood at the edge of the practice court, his arms crossed, his eyes tracking the young players as they moved through their drills. He was not there to train. He was there to observe, to witness the next generation of tennis talent emerging from the academy that bore his greatest rival's name. Among the players on the court was a 16-year-old left-hander from the Philippines. Her name was Alex Eala. Federer had heard about her, a junior Grand Slam champion, a powerful lefty forehand, a composure beyond her years. But watching her in person, something clicked. He saw not just talent, but temperament. The way she handled the tight point, the way she reset after a mistake, the way she carried herself between rallies, calm, focused, unshakable. The connection was forged in that moment. Over the years, fans noticed Federer's quiet but unmistakable support for Eala. He attended her junior matches when his schedule allowed. He spoke about her with warmth and admiration in interviews. When she turned professional, he was among the first to congratulate her on social media. The rumors swirled. Some said he saw a kindred spirit, others claimed it was simply Swiss politeness. A few wondered if there was a formal mentorship, something deeper than the casual admiration of a legend for a promising young player. But Federer never explained. He rarely spoke publicly about his relationships with young players, preferring to let his actions speak for themselves. The question lingered. Why was Roger Federer so attached to Alex Eala? Berlin, Germany, June 2026, Berlin Open Press Conference. The question came from a Filipino journalist who had traveled to Berlin specifically to cover Alex Eala's campaign. She had been following the Filipina star since her junior days, had witnessed the meteoric rise from cracked courts in Quezon City to world number 28. She asked Aryna Sabalenka, the world number one, a 4-time Grand Slam champion, about Eala's rapid ascent. Sabalenka's answer was expected at first: praise for Eala's fighting spirit, recognition of her improving serve, acknowledgement of the passionate Filipino fan base that had turned every tournament into a home game. Then, the Belarusian's tone shifted. You know, people talk about her game, they talk about her ranking, they talk about her fans, but what they don't talk about is who she has in her corner. The room leaned forward. Sabalenka continued, her voice measured, but carrying the weight of someone who had seen behind the curtain. Roger Federer has been mentoring her, quietly, privately, for years. The room erupted in whispers. Reporters scrambled to capture the quote. Cameras zoomed in on Sabalenka's face, searching for any sign of exaggeration. But the world number one was not exaggerating. He saw something in her early, before most people even knew her name. He reached out to her, offered guidance, advice, not about tennis technique, but about life at the top, about handling pressure, about managing fame, about staying grounded when everyone wants a piece of you. Sabalenka paused, letting the words settle. That's why she's so attached to him. He saw her before she was a star. He believed in her when she was still figuring out who she was. The revelation sent shockwaves through the tennis world. Roger Federer, the 20 Grand Slam champion, the most beloved player in tennis history, had been quietly mentoring Alex Eala for years, not as a coach, not as an agent, as a guide, a confidant, someone who had walked the path she was now walking. She reminds him of himself, Sabalenka added. Not the tennis, the temperament, the grace under pressure, the way she carries herself when things are falling apart. The journalist who had asked the questions sat frozen, her pen hovering over her notebook. She had come to Berlin hoping for a story about rankings and seeds. She was leaving with something far more valuable, confirmation of a bond that had been hiding in plain sight. Within hours the clip had gone viral. The hashtag Federer Mentors Eala began trending across the globe. Filipino fans wept. Tennis analysts scrambled to find evidence of the mentorship, reviewing old interviews, scanning social media posts, connecting dots that had been invisible until Sabalenka illuminated them. And Alex Eala, preparing for her first-round match in Berlin, found herself at the center of a story she had never told. The proof had been there all along, hidden in plain sight, dismissed by the tennis world as coincidence or wishful thinking. It began in 2026 when a 16-year-old Alex Eala was training at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. Federer, who had maintained a close relationship with the academy since its founding, made an unannounced visit. He watched the juniors train, he offered encouragement, and he singled out one player for a private conversation. That player was Alex Eala. No cameras captured the exchange, no reporters recorded the words, but witnesses described a young woman emerging from the meeting visibly moved, her eyes glistening, her shoulders squared with a new kind of confidence. He told me to enjoy the journey, Eala would later reveal in a rare interview about the meeting. He said that chasing a dream is supposed to be hard, but it's also supposed to be fun, and then if I ever stopped having fun, I should call him. The mentorship deepened over the years. Federer, now retired, had time. He had perspective. He had navigated the pressure of being the face of a sport for 2 decades, and he recognized in Eala the same quiet burden, the weight of carrying expectations that went far beyond the baseline. He reached out after her losses, not just her victories. He sent handwritten notes, something he rarely did, even for players he coached. He offered advice on handling media scrutiny, on managing her schedule, on protecting her mental health in a sport that demanded everything. He doesn't tell me how to hit my forehand, Eala said in a 2026 interview. With a Swiss publication, the only time she had spoken publicly about their relationship, that he tells me how to be a person, how to stay grounded when everything is changing, how to remember why I started playing in the first place. The tennis world had noticed the connection but never understood its depth. When Federer posted about Eala's Miami Open semi-final run in 2026, fans assumed it was a generic congratulation. From one professional to another. When he attended her match at Indian Wells in 2026, seated quietly in the player's box, the cameras caught him nodding approvingly after a particularly gutsy point. Commentators mentioned it, then moved on. But Sabalenka's revelation put the pieces together. She calls him when she's struggling, Sabalenka revealed, not about tennis, about life, about the loneliness of the tour, about the pressure of representing an entire country. He's been through all of it, and he helps her see that she's not alone. The world number 1 paused, choosing her next words carefully. I think that's why she's so composed on the court. She has someone in her corner who has seen everything, who knows what it takes to stay at the top, who reminds her that the greatest champions aren't defined by their victories but how they handle defeat. Federer himself had spoken about Eala only once, briefly, in a 2026 interview. She's special, he said. Not because of her results, because of her spirit, the way she fights, the way she never gives up. That's not something you can teach, that's something you're born with. The interview had been dismissed as polite praise in light of Sabalenka's revelation. It read like something else entirely. A mentor speaking about a protege he had watched grow, who reminded him of the young Roger Federer, the boy from Basel, who once dreamed of something bigger. Now the tennis world understood. Roger Federer was not just a distant admirer of Alex Eala, he was a quiet guardian, a behind-the-scenes presence who had been shaping her career not with technical advice but with wisdom earned over 2 decades at the pinnacle of the sport. And Alex Eala, the 21-year-old from Quezon City who had left home at 13 to chase a dream, had one of the greatest players of all time in her corner. Berlin, Germany, June 2026, Berlin Open press conference continued. The question had been answered, the revelation had been made, but the reporters in the Berlin Open Media Center were not satisfied. They wanted more. They wanted to understand why Roger Federer, the most beloved player in tennis history, a man who had seen generations of talent come and go, had chosen Alex Eala. Sabalenka leaned back in her chair, considering the question. I think when you've been at the top for as long as Roger has, you develop an eye for something that rankings can't measure. You see a young player under pressure, and you just know whether they have it. She paused. Eala has it. The room waited. It's not her forehand, it's not her serve, it's the way she handles the moments when everything is falling apart. Down 5-2 in the second set against Cheriva at Birmingham, 2 rain delays against Mazarova, a hostile crowd at Roland Garros throwing things at her. She didn't break, she didn't crack, she found a way. Sabalenka's voice softened. That's what Roger sees in her, because that's who he was. He wasn't the most powerful player, he wasn't the most athletic, But he was the most composed, the most graceful under pressure, and he recognizes that same quality in her. The comparison was striking. Federer's career had been defined not by raw power, but by elegance, the ability to find angles that didn't seem to exist, to construct points like a chess grandmaster, to make the impossible look effortless. Eala's game was different, a lefty's angles, a fighter's grit, but the temperament was the same. She reminds him himself, Sabalenka said simply. Not the tennis, the person, the way she carries herself, the way she treats her opponents, the way she handles defeat. That's not something you can coach. That's who she is. The words resonated across the tennis world. Filipino fans who had watched their champion absorb blow after blow, the fines, the fees, the snubs, the doubts, felt a surge of validation. The greatest of all time saw in her the same qualities that had defined his own legendary career. He's not trying to turn her into a copy of him, Sabalenka clarified. He's trying to help her become the best version of herself, and that's why she's so attached to him, because he sees her not her ranking, not her results, not her potential her. The press conference ended shortly after, but the conversation had only begun. Across social media, fans dissected every known interaction between Federer and Eala. The private meeting at the Rafa Nadal Academy, the handwritten notes after her losses, the quiet presence in her player's box at Indian Wells, the congratulatory posts after her Miami Open run. The pieces had always been there, they just hadn't been put together, until now. Berlin, Germany, June 2026. The road ahead. The revelation has changed nothing and everything. Alex Eala still needs to secure her Wimbledon seeding. The 163 points from last year's Eastbourne final still expire on June 22nd. The Berlin draw is still stacked with 9 of the world's top 10 players. The pressure is still immense, but something has shifted. The tennis world now understands that behind Eala's composed demeanor is not just natural resilience but the quiet guidance of the sport's most beloved champion. Roger Federer has been in her corner for years, not as a coach but as a mentor, not dictating her game but helping her navigate the storm. I think the biggest thing he's given her is perspective, Sabalenka said. When you're 21 years old and everyone is telling you that you're the future of the sport, it's easy to get lost. Roger helps her remember that tennis is not who she is, it's what she does.